I called the manager and I said, hey, make the phone call. Tell him your storage locker was burglarized. Makes the phone call, calls me back, said, there's no answer. I said, okay. I said, well, plan B, go knock on the door and tell him you're the manager, right? That's what a manager would do. He goes, I'm not going to do that. I go, why not? He goes, I just Googled him. He killed 19 people.
Hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God, Hi, Hijo de Dios, Hola. With me, George Lopez, porque ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show, porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell, se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul.
You know what George is?
Oh, I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
What's his name? George?
Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God!
OMG.
OMG! Hi!
Oh my God, hi! You guys on that side? Over here, I need I'm waiting for the draft, that podcast draft. No, Grant.
Aaron, are we rolling?
We've been rolling, cabrón.
All right. Well, it's our pleasure today to welcome onto the podcast retired FBI special agent Scott. Is it Gariola or Garriola? Garriola. Famous. I mean, you can say how true this is or not, but famous for catching Whitey Bulger, among other many great criminals. And in fact, there's a great podcast episode out there about your investigation into the Chippendales Murder for Hire case, which my favorite highlight was there was someone involved in that whose name was Gil Lopez. Is that correct?
Gilberto Lopez.
Relevant for our audience today.
I'm sure it probably looked like you. He wasn't wearing a mask. Cabrón. Okay, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, where do we start? I think we should start with what's topical. What do you think is going on with that guy, Brian Laundrie? I mean, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's we don't get too many of those cases in L.A., right? That people don't disappear. It's like the guy that did the Atlanta Olympic Park bombing.
Right.
He went in the woods. He lived for weeks, maybe months at a time. They finally tracked him down. Who knows? It's anybody's guess, right? He could be alligator food right now.
Yep.
Right. He could be hiding with some friends. You don't know. Usually in our business, it's somebody's helping him out. It's family or friends.
Okay, Eric Rudolph, right? So Eric Rudolph, how did he survive out there? And don't they have like
survivalist, right?
Don't the helicopters in Los Angeles now? You used to back in my day, you only just had to run from the light.
They have heat-seeking stuff.
And now they have heat-seeking,
but they got to go over you too.
Right. And you got to be in the right place, right?
Right. Because it can't go through trees and stuff. So
it can go through some of them.
It can, but you've got to be, if you're searching here, if the helicopter's here and the body's over here, you're not going to get the heat seeking.
Right.
If the body's hiding right here in the helicopter, then you'll pick it up. So they've got to be able to have the ability to fly within a certain area, circle to feel the heat.
And dogs are, you guys had great scent dogs when we worked homicide cases together. Some guys swear by them, and some guys say they'll never use them again.
I've used them. And I haven't had anything bad with them. But before we go any further, he said, as you heard, Scott just said, you guys use them. Scott was the best. He was the guy to go to.
Yeah.
We work the case, we work it up, and we say, hey, here's our man, here's what we need. It's like, yo, Rennie, go. and his people did. He was just the go-to
the human
guy. He was.
And I find that fascinating about you because you're not really like a mamon to be giving compliments, but that was over and above if there was a fucking bell in here, it'd be ringing mamon with fucking cream shooting out of the top. Like that fucking fountain from yesterday.
See, I don't even have to kiss his ass because he's not.
But I like that he thinks it's funny instead of going like, Grant, I thought Gil's introduction was just a little minimal. Like, I've done so much. I wish it was just longer. Do you think we could go back in there and I could sit there? Some guys are all about the title, which I don't really get. That's why, when somebody says, my dad's a singer. You go to fucking Elton John. Hey, my dad's a singer. Oh, you want to piss somebody off? Fucking do that shit. FBI. Yeah, my cousin. What is my cousin like? He's a mailman. Oh, well, the government. Just kind of everybody's into minimalization, and that's why everybody on YouTube or in podcasts or in whatever form of media thinks that they're sleuths. Everybody thinks they can solve the crime. Plunder and True Rocket crime science, whatever that dude's name is. So I've been watching this, the Chris Watts. There's a lot of stuff, but true crime rocket science. This guy, the most authentic voice in true crime. I'll put these two guys against that guy and his dog. So this guy started putting his schnauzer on. And I like crime. Everybody, you want to fucking disinterest me? I rescue dogs. I don't have to like them to rescue them. I'm sure when people are floating in the ocean and they're, help us, there's some people like, hey, I don't really, a couple of Latinos out there, I'm not, I shouldn't be the one to go save them. Have issues with them. There's a guy that lived next door, he used to start his car at 4 o'clock in the morning, he and I would go at it. I'm not the best, I might drop him. So when you see everybody trying to be a sleuth, because minimization takes you guys, they'll be like, oh, they're without the history, and then those guys are like, well, we helped. I've done a podcast on 71 cases of murder, but it still doesn't make you beneficial.
And the benefit, or the probably the best part of this thing is, and I'm not here to badmouth any agency at all, but
because it's not about that.
The agency is not there. It was Scott. I mean, he dressed just like the way he is today, awesome. Levi's and shirt, no suit and tie. There was no condescending. There was nothing. It was a share of information. And these guys, and he was a worker bee. And
was that Todd Scott? Was your demeanor and your dress and the conversation was that a FBI? Do they teach that, or that's just your own personality?
It's personality. It's how you grew up. Right? I grew up in the Bronx. Working class parents. Worked when I was 11 years old in a grocery store. And
were you ever in there when it got robbed?
No, we never got robbed.
Okay.
It was a nice section of the Bronx.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Because kind of people looked out for. That's one thing about. I think back there, the Bronx and all the stuff that people looked out in their neighborhood and their blocks. Right. You had kind of block taken care of. Zone neighborhood watch from back in the day.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I first started the FBI, I was working Italian mob, and I'm Italian. So I remember going home and telling my mother and say, hey, Mom, I'm working Italian organized crime. And she says, what are you doing that for? She says, Mustache Pete's used to protect the neighborhood. When we were little girls, we could walk around anywhere in Harlem, and those were the guys that looked out for us. No one even made a pass at us because of those guys. And so that's the mentality. My parents were born in the 20s, right? So that's the mentality they grew up with. But I grew up with hardworking parents, and I used to see the guys from the NYPD swinging the billy clubs, walking down the street. That's what I want to do growing up.
Wow.
I didn't see him thumping anybody.
So if they called you a flatfoot, it wasn't offensive to you?
Nah.
That's what those guys are. They call them flatfoots.
Guys on the beat.
Flatfoots on the beat. Yeah. So that's good. Was anybody in law enforcement in your?
No law enforcement.
No law enforcement with you either.
No, absolutely not.
There's something inside, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember? Because Muhammad Ali became a boxer because somebody stole his bike, and then a police officer told you that you're kind of going down the wrong way.
At 17, he told my parents, sign for him to get off the streets. He'll end up in prison or dead, and he did. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, when that guy said, get him off the streets, he's going to end up in prison or dead. To go to Vietnam as your third option is like, what the fuck?
Hey, that matured me. That made me have a new appreciation on life. And that's why all I wanted to do was become a cop to give back what he gave to me.
I have to tell you, man, I mean, I when I was on the radio in 2000 out here, there was a shortage of police officers in the LAPD. I'm pretty sure there still is, but law enforcement across the country and everywhere in the world. And they wanted me to do a week of telling people how easy it would be if you wanted to ever thought about being a police officer, a veteran, and all that. We're going to make it easy for you. Yeah. And we went and did the car chases out there off of the 5 freeway where it's wet and you're kind of chasing cars around the track.
Skid pan.
And then people pop up and you walk through the streets and just situations. And those guys had paintball. They were dressed in paintball, and I wouldn't let anybody shoot at me, or I wouldn't shoot the gun. They were like, "What's wrong with you, man?" And I said, "I don't want to aim at anybody. I don't want to get shot. I don't want to get hit by anything." So I sat out. They were like, well, so I was like, and then I talked to this lady that does your stars, and then I said, "Hey, is there a reason that I'm like not into guns or being shot at?" Or I got shot at a party in 10th grade. I was still running till fucking last Thursday. Fucking red. Where this guy comes into a house party, shoots it up, bap, 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 fucking take off running, and you hear bing, and it hit the cement of some wall. And we turned into an alley, and those guys, I still remember in the dark, they're going, George! My fucking. I ran all the way home, man. I ran all the way. It was about a mile and a half. I ran through the park like Forrest Gump, through the park, through the fucking water. The only thing I didn't go was the Appalachian Trail when I fucking saw that dude over.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it just kind of triggers, and any of your buddies and all that stuff that
Yeah, growing up in the Bronx, everybody wanted to be FDNY, fire department, NYPD. So I left. I came out to school. I went to UCLA. And so I always had this kind of thing in the back of my head. And
what was that like to go to the Bronx, to be for the Bronx, then go to UCLA?
I remember in Santa Monica once crossing the street against the "Don't Walk" sign, and the copper got on the PA. Hey, what are you doing? It says "Don't walk." Can't you read? Whoa, I'm in a different world. You're not in Kansas anymore, right? in New York, I mean, you walk whenever. You don't park. You do whatever you want. Out here, it's like, oh, okay,
They haven't hit you with the plastic straws out here yet, have they?
Yeah. The plastic straw.
Those fucking turtles end up with plastic straws in their mouths. What are they doing? I don't know. You go to Starbucks every day. What the fuck's going on over there?
And they got rid of all the plastic though. It's like a wooden cup.
It is?
No.
Sippy cup.
But they got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's a sippy cup.
They do the what is it? What do they do with the straws? Paper straws? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they end up in the nose.
They suck.
But they do suck. They fall apart after like
You
3
ever see
steps.
that the spoon from Baskin Robbins?
The taster spoon.
The little
pink one.
Yeah. I looked at myself in the mirror and I put my underwear on, and it looked like I had a little spoon in my hand. I don't know how the fuck, what happened to my dick. Where does it go? Like skin doesn't just, meat doesn't just, I mean, it can atrophy, yes, but I mean, I work that muscle, not as, I work out more alone than than in a group, but, it's funny when you get older, like you deteriorate. You can fucking hurt yourself in your sleep. You get up, and you would think that you would chase somebody, or you would be down in a crouch position for a half an hour, somewhere you had to fit in. And then as you get older, man, it's crazy.
Down.
I'm at the point in my life, anything happens, pass out, and they can't hold you accountable for nothing. Hopefully they won't fucking shoot you after you're down on the ground.
They'll take your shoes. Back in my day, we didn't try to resuscitate anybody. We took their shoes.
That's funny.
So crime. What do you make of how popular documentaries have been on crime and
crime stuff?
Yeah, and I think on podcasts that's the number one thing is.
Yeah, listen, my favorite murder is like one of the biggest podcasts out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't get it because I don't watch true crime at home. My wife does, and I like, hey, do I got to see this again? I'm tired of hearing those murder cases and stuff like that. I don't get it, and I don't know. I guess people love a good mystery. They love seeing somebody else suffer, and there, but for the grace of God.
But also, what was I going to say? You can farm yourself out as a professional. They come to you. They go, well, the thing is that we didn't know that, and they put your title under there.
Right.
Those guys kind of become accessories to a fad, right? Because you can just hire a guy. I'm sure they all aren't the highest.
There's talking heads.
Were you old enough? Did you know Bill Hagmeyer from your agency? He was back behavioral science.
Behavioral science guys. Yeah.
Okay. Good friend. And
right.
That's who I was talking to yesterday out on the course.
Oh.
I want to say it was Oxygen is doing a documentary on the Night Stalker. I couldn't be involved in it. Contractually, I couldn't. And I knew Bill.
You know fucking contractually, this guy?
Bill had called me up because they had asked him to be a part and he was going to do it.
That's how your nickname would be, excuse me. So, if Scott and I were in a restaurant and they go, hey, where's fucking contractually at? There he is right there. Gil, over here, man. That's how you get your nickname. Just one, like there was this dude, we call him Caca, we're like in our 30s and they go, what are you guys talking about? He goes, guess who's getting married, man? And he goes, cool, Caca. Fucking Caca's getting married. Hey, man, Caca, I already know. And his wife is expecting a baby. Oh, wait a minute, they're going to be little caquitas. Right? Nickname is just, how you can call a guy whatever his nickname is, there's a trail back to it. So, like contractually continue.
So he was calling me up. he ended up doing it, and he says, God, I wish you could. I said, I can't. And I said, but you got the best guy going. You got Bill Hagmeyer, he's a good friend, he'll know. And so he asked me, text me, and I text him back. I said, anything you want, I'm here. Yesterday when I was out on the golf course with George, he was calling me, getting ready to leave and do the stuff. He said, I got a couple more questions. Fill me in on this.
Right.
And so we gave him the stuff. And
in other words, he was trying to fucking ride your coattail.
Right.
no, he's a
Wait a
friend.
minute, that's what I heard.
He can have anything he wants. I encouraged him.
Orale,
Call me.
coattails and contractually out there. There's your PI firm.
That's what I don't want to get on TV and start talking about something I don't know about.
Well, neither did Bill.
Yeah.
Do you
Bill
think
did not want to
do you
do
think
it.
your friends see you and go, if you're getting coffee in the morning, you look at hear Gil's talk, go, okay, yeah, all right, right? Because all of a sudden now,
Oh, you can tell.
it's like Monday Night Football. Everybody critiques every play. Everybody critiques every move. The guy.
You say that, and just a little before I came down here, after talking to my wife
You know
about
my name. Come to call me you.
about the golf tournament yesterday, I said, and you know what the realities are? If my friends, the guys that I worked with at Homicide, if they could hear me talk, they're saying, you're a fucking puto. Yeah, they would.
You know what? It'd be an episode of The White Shadow if that dude was still around.
Yeah, they'd laugh at me. They'd think, hey, you ain't shit. You weren't shit then. You're not shit now. These are the hardcore guys.
But did you guys watch Streets of San Francisco growing up? I did.
Carl Malden, yeah.
Everybody did.
Sure, Mannix, you watch all those shows.
Well, who was a good one?
Joe Forrester, remember Joe Forrester?
Oh, yeah.
He used to throw the Billy Cup a block down the street
Yeah.
and trip the guy.
Hill Street Blues.
Hill Street Blues.
Who could win Joe Forrester versus Kung Fu?
I think Joe Forrester.
How about the Llorona and Annabelle?
Oh, shit. Annabelle, she.
But you see, we see how far Adam 12, Dragnet was big. Like everybody was watching Dragnet, and not every police show stayed. But Streets of San Francisco was big. The FBI
FBI, yeah.
was they used those real cases, right? It became almost like what CSI became.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they went, then we went reality, and it was the untold stories of the FBI,
Right.
and that kind of thing started that phase. But I just, I'm with Gil. I don't want to get up there and start talking about somebody else's cases and critiquing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I did the Chippendales docudrama that's on now, and I'm going to talk about my case and tell you what I did, or the Whitey Bulger case. I'm not going to go and critique Gil's Night Stalker investigation. I ain't going to do that.
Right.
Make believe I
Very
know more than
important.
him.
That's respectful. I mean, that's what
And-
law
and-
enforcement should be.
And Bill
respectful.
was not. He wasn't critiquing he just wanted information.
I
He
know,
says, God,
just
I feel
bullshit.
terrible. I feel
take it
terrible.
easy.
I told him, this is
I
not
think I
right.
would have been a good interrogator, because I got you talking more, defending him. I'm like, really? Was there a sexual relationship involved between you two? You have to pull those phone records. You're probably staying at the Fairfield Inn right here off the 5 freeway in Valencia.
You're going to take
For
the
your
fifth pretty soon. You got him using contractually. or legal terms.
Patty Lane Higgins' case. She was originally from Pittsburgh, so I swore to Bill. I said, "We're going to get the guy because she's from Pittsburgh, just like you."
thing. So he did, right? So they're still talking about Richard Ramirez. They're
Yeah.
talking about Manson.
Yeah.
Sure, forever.
The Whitey Bulger, still big in Boston. People still talk about him in Boston.
I'm sure. I don't go back there too often. I'm a New York guy,
Yeah.
Yankees fan, so I got low key when I go back there. But yeah, I'm sure it's he's one of the. They always say, he was the number 2 after Osama bin Laden, right? But we don't rank him that way. So Osama had been killed in May of that year, and then we caught him in June. So, but
This is how different that crime has become. If you were a bad guy in the 70s, 60s, they put your picture up in the post office. And that's really where you would be in there in line buying stamps and mail it, and you'd look and see, I know that guy. I don't know if contractually I'm allowed to speak about it. but now you don't even know who's on the top 10 list, or it doesn't, that kind of has gone.
It does. And when they did something like that, when he got somebody like that, or people like myself get excited.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good one. That's badass.
Yeah.
That's his case. But because I know.
Because you're all part of the same team.
Exactly. How much work, how many man hours, and how much stress went into doing this. It's awesome.
Yeah. Which is the best? What about Donnie Brasco? Is that a
Donnie
Joe
Brasco?
Pistone? Yeah.
I mean, it was a great undercover operation that he did. In 5 years he was under with the mob. Great movie. And Joe Pistone, I met him once briefly in a hotel, but yeah, he's a great guy all around.
And he did it, and you do kind of get absorbed by being undercover, right? You have to, because any slip or anything that if you have an accident and you don't use it,
and I'm not kissing
like
Bill
Elizabeth
Hagmeyer's
Holmes,
ass.
again with Bill Hagmeyer.
Bill Hagmeyer said Pistone was one of the best partners he ever had. They were partnered up for a while.
All right. Well, why don't you say that at first? Because that would put him higher on the list. Now I got the vato down there.
He's a good guy, I'm telling you.
Big lot security driving around with the yellow light on. That says big lights on the side.
I'm going to call
Hey,
him.
man, can you guys move along? It's a big lots. You don't allow people to fucking just be hanging around. Sorry, sir.
I'm going to call Bill and tell him you better listen to this podcast.
They're going to find me dead like Marilyn Monroe with a suppository in my culo. The remote control, okay, that means he talked. You know, in Mexico, when they kill somebody, they do a sign like if they cut your dick off and they put it in your mouth, they go, that guy, you know,
He talked. He's informant.
he talked. Or your thumb in your culo, you know, there's one for that.
He was a hitchhiker.
You wouldn't shut the fuck up. But everybody has their own, system of evil. Even in Mexico.
Oh yeah,
I fuck around in Mexico.
I've been to Mexico.
I did a movie in Mexico, and you see a big police truck go by with the big tires and a 50 caliber machine gun on the back, and 7 guys on one side and 7 on the other, all in black with shit like this, with the machine gun off, and you're just going, that's just them patrolling, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
We went, one of the trips I took to make, we went bring back a couple of witnesses on a case. And one of them was ready to, he was going to pay on his own. The following day, unbeknownst that we were going to be down there, he was going to get on his own and then pay a coyote to bring him across.
Wow.
And we got there. Now, hey, he's free. We're paying for everything. His partner that was out there really didn't want to come back. He had been a surviving gunshot victim. Somebody else died in the house. And he really didn't want to come back. He was reluctant. Didn't say, no, I'm not. But when we got there to pick him up, we had guys from the Judicial, the local cops over there, and they had Uzis with them. And this guy is saying, well, no, I can't. I didn't say goodbye to my grandma. We went and get him at his work. We already told your grandma you weren't coming home. Yeah, but I need to get some clothes. He says, we got a sack of your clothes right here. And they're seeing the gun. He says, oh, okay. So we went back to Acapulco, which was a big town we were staying in. And I told the comandante, I said, hey, I need a favor. I'd put these guys up in the hotel with us, but one of them is a little shady. I'm afraid he'll go back home. I said, could you just not lock him up, but just entertain him in your facility? And he says, see. He called his guy down, hey, take these guys up there to the office, put them up there. Do not lock them up. He says, when you get up there, he says, then come on back. I need to ask you I need to give you some more instructions. The guy comes out and he says, okay, look, those guys are not to be locked up, but they better not get away or it'll be you. Do I understand? To make myself clear. If they get away, you'll pay. See me, comandante. So they leave. I tell the commandante, thank you. We'll be by in the morning, pick them up. In the morning, we go pick them up, get them out, and they're like, Daddy, you're here. Get us out of here. So we took them down, got them in the airport, got them on an airplane, got them some drinks. And I'm saying, well, how was your stay last night? They take care of you real good? He says, oh, it was ugly. He says, the 2 guards who were watching us, they started drinking. They said, fuck it, lock those guys up, man. We can't let them get away. They'll kill us. So they put us in a cell with 12 other guys, and there were robbers, there were murderers in there. He says, and they're looking at us, and pretty soon the guys, I want your belt, I want your wallet, I want your watch, I want your shoes. He said, they took everything from us. He says, the comandante got there in the morning, and he got pissed. He said, but before he got there, the 2 guards got so drunk, they pulled out their guns. They were fighting to see who was going to screw the one broad they had in custody. Wow. They wanted her. Damn. And they finally didn't do it. They let it go. Comandante gets there in the morning, and he says, what the fuck are they doing locked up? He got pissed off, got rid of those guys. He says, come on, took them out to breakfast. He says, come on, let's go out and have breakfast. Took them out, and he says, and he tried to calm us down. He said, whatever you do, please don't tell Carrillo. Please don't tell Carrillo this happened. It's because at least everything went well. He said, well, it's just that when we were in there, they stole our wallet, our watch, our belt, our this, that. He says, come on back. He went in, he's got a big piece of wood. He said, who got your wallet? He says, that guy. Bam, bam, start beating the shit out. Who got your belt? Who got your shoes? Who got your jewelry? And I said, oh, man, I feel terrible. I said, but the good thing is, at least you got everything back. He says, everything except for my belt. And I said, why didn't you tell me I'd have gotten your belt back? He says, the comandante liked my belt.
Well, I was going to say, if the cellmates didn't get it, the cops would have got
Yeah,
it.
the comandante liked his belt.
Damn.
Wow.
That's the way it is. And they can tell. I mean, the Mexicans can tell the Mexican Americans.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right, too, right? Because you guys are taught to look at things and...
Well, when we chase them down there, we bring them. I brought back dozens of people from Mexico and went down there and stuff. And they can tell, they're so happy. You think they wouldn't be happy coming back to the States to go and face, life in prison, whatever it is, but they're very happy to come back to the States.
Are there are there guys that are almost like manipulators that know how to because guys who are frauds have to pretend to be different people, but criminals that you pick up that if they start talking to you or talking to a normal person, then they get them to be either accessories or help them, because there's a way to use the language, I guess, and however. But if you're an FBI, you're taught to look for certain behavior. Like in Hannibal Lecter, like in Silence of the Lambs, they're like, don't let that dude talk to you because he'll get in your head. Or even when we went to Alcatraz, the Birdman, like they would leave his food by the door, and his bed was way back over there. They were like, don't talk to that fucking guy because he'll spin you.
Yeah, well, no one's getting in my head. No one's getting in Gil's head either.
But there are guys like that.
Well, I'm sure there's master manipulators, right? And the sociopaths.
They want to do.
Yeah, I didn't do this. Meanwhile, they got video of him stuffing a body into a 55-gallon drum. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. They'll lie to you. Like they'll tell you the color of the sky's not blue. But I've been all over the world bringing people back, and invariably everybody's happy to get back to the United States, even when they're locked up in jail.
With Brian Laundrie, where the parents went out, maybe like, what do they protect him? His parents protect him in any way? Can you tell? Didn't they?
Supposedly there's. They're saying the parents had nothing to do with it. The sister's saying that, right? But you got to take that with a pound of salt. You don't know what they did and what they didn't do. I'm sure the FBI knows. They can track them, their movements via cell phones and, maybe traffic cams and stuff like that. But, it's a 50-50. Either he went out and offed himself or he's, living in a tent somewhere in the Everglades.
When that 911 call came in and they said, this guy is slapping this girl, and then when they were done with however long the conversation was, they were willing to put the dude in a hotel and then let the girl.
They're gonna eat crow after that shit because of domestic violence laws the way they are. Mm-hmm. Bad move, and on their video, on their camera, on their body cams.
But they both point the fingers at her. He said that she attacked him, and then I guess later on it came out that he attacked her, and somebody actually witnessed him beating her up outside a store in the main part of town. Mm-hmm. So Gil will know better domestic violence cases. We never, we don't work them fresh.
Somebody's got to go.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go, and you lean towards whoever's got the best story.
Because the 911 call is clear. It says this guy's slapping, and the officer's like, what? And then they pulls him over, and then the guy said she grabbed the wheel. That's why they hit the curb. Mm-hmm. Why do you think they hit the curb? Because
she grabbed the wheel. Did she listen to the call?
Oh, I don't know. She said she did it. He said she did. I don't know. I would. More likely to believe. Well,
they both got marks on them. So, but Gil's right. Somebody's got to go.
One of the two.
But I think in social media and in stuff like this, where people want to live the van life or whatever, it's fucking dangerous out there. It's not easy to just live and travel and post on Instagram and not, come in contact with some people that are not good people out there.
I wouldn't be doing it in L.A. That's for sure. I'd be, maybe Wyoming or Utah. I wouldn't be coming down here in a van life.
Right?
Too many vans on the street already.
It's changed so much here in Los Angeles. Where people are, a lot of people move to Arizona, move to Las Vegas, but, leaving Los Angeles because of the homeless. I'm a native, so, you are. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've seen it this bad.
Tennessee's another big destination.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Nashville and all that.
Yeah,
what is the answer you think to the issue of homelessness in the United States?
It's mental health. The majority of mental health.
I don't have an answer. Some things just need a whole lot of leave alone.
And wait until they build a 3-story thing out of shopping carts across from your house, Calvin.
That's what they're talking about now, building a new multi-story place down in downtown L.A. for the homeless. I feel sorry for the homeless vets. That's really tough. Some of those people are homeless at a choice because now they're addicted and their mind is gone and they need mental health, dope, cocaine to the brain has made them insane. You know.
But do veterans still live in the Veterans Hospital? Or they still do that? Because on Sunday there was that party, and we drove down, and that street in Brentwood that runs along the VA hospital is guys living on the streets outside.
Well, they just showed it on the news the other day. A bunch of vets. All the flags are out there. They're living right across the street.
Yeah,
from the VA.
That can't be good. That's not a good look for him.
I'm with Gil. What do you do? It's a mental illness. How do you force somebody to take drugs to try and help them? But we spent a lot of time down there in Skid Row, and that's just the epicenter of it. I mean, it's all over the city now.
Skid Row, yeah. Right. Skid Row used to be, it was confined to that one area.
Yeah.
And
it's spreading out all over the city, all over the county.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, it brings crime, and it brings, people stealing packages off of people's porches and just taking bikes and breaking into cars and taking whatever. People shouldn't leave that shit out there anyways, but, it brings makes...
The quality of life crimes, they call them.
Yeah. You all right? Where do you live?
I live in West Hollywood.
All right.
Yeah.
He's in sheriff's territory. He's good.
So yeah. So Brian Laundrie, do you expect? Because then you have people now. You have foreign against the people that for him are like, oh, the FBI, they can't catch this guy.
Well, Dog the bounty hunter will catch him. He's down there now.
Dog the bounty hunter.
Will he catch him?
No, Dog. He got his claim to fame. He scooped the FBI. Back in, I want to say, early 2000s, Andrew Luster.
Max Factor guy?
Max Factor's nephew. A good job.
An encyclopedia.
When it comes to true crime, the guy
and porn.
Contractually.
Contractually, I can't talk about porn here. I have my other show, Come With Me, every Friday night at 11 p.m. That guy.
That's why he scooped the FBI. That's why he made his bones and became a celebrity after that.
And how did he find him?
He got a tip. Yes.
He got it. Yeah, because he's accepting tips.
Someone just told him, and he got.
I thought he just like crime. No, but I mean,
you want to know
what
really happened on that?
I do.
We got a tip. He got a tip. The person who took the tip, I'm not going to say what office was, didn't take it seriously enough, and maybe expedite the tip information. So actually, our agents in Mexico are en route to. I think it was Puerto Vallarta, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Puerto Vallarta. They were en route, acting on a tip, and Dog acted on it quickly, got there, and got him scooped up, and it was literally like minutes before we got there. And that's what happened. So it's just a matter of someone not taking it seriously enough.
Okay, I'm not as familiar with the Chippendales, but I have seen some stuff. I meant to watch it, but when you're hungover for 2 days apart.
You started out with Chippendales, didn't you?
I started out.
Yeah,
I did, and then I couldn't keep it on like my pants up Monday, Friday. But can you talk about that?
It's a crazy case, and how old were you, Gil, when you got involved with Frank on the Night Stalker case?
I was about 35 years old.
35.
Are you sure you weren't underage?
Can you contractually speak about that?
Let's just say I wasn't. I was a nubile. I wasn't an adult. That's one of my verses from "Come With Me" at 11 on Friday night. Nubile.
So I was like 31. I just gotten in from New Orleans division, transferred in. Put me on a squad with a bunch of old timers, kind of like similar to Gil.
Great.
Getting thrown with a senior guy. And they had just gotten a call on a guy from Vegas, walks into the office, says, I was hired to go kill some dancers in England. Okay, well, who hired you? Well, this guy in Santa Clarita. All right, so we get him on tape talking about it. Wow. We go out, long story short, we arrest the guy in Santa Clarita. He doesn't talk. About 7 months later, he hires an attorney who finally is a friend of ours, a former prosecutor, gets him to come in and spill his guts. Comes in and says, hey, not only did I pay this guy from Vegas to go over and kill some dancers, which never happened. Back in '87, I actually killed the business partner of the owner of Chippendales.
I remember, yeah.
Right, and then in '79, and they tried to burn down the old club in Santa Monica called the Moody's, which later became the 321 and later became Hooters. And then in '84, I tried to burn down a Red Onion. Remember the Red Onion in the '80s? How popular it was?
Yeah.
'84, tried to burn down the Red Onion in Marina Del Rey.
That was the spot right there.
Yeah.
That was it, right? And then, by the way, 1990, before the England case, I was going to kill this doctor and his 12-year-old son. And it all had to do with greed and envy and money and this owner of Chippendales, people leaving him to go start competing businesses. The doctor allegedly screwed him over on a new club in L.A. The clubs, the nightclubs in Marina Del Rey and the Santa Monica were just competing nightclubs, and he wanted them eliminated. And that's what it was all about. And his business partner, they had a dispute. Clubs were... The Chippendales Club in L.A. was on Overland. There was one in New York on 61st and First. And, clubs come and go. There's lots of problems with clubs. And but what he did is the owner of Chippendales out here, this guy Steve Banerjee, he gave the touring rights to his partner in New York named Nick DeNoia. And as you know, he'd take a tour like that on the road, every small town USA, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, and whatever, engagement parties. And he'd take it all over the world. And the money was coming in hand over fist. The guy out here, the owner, the guy who started the club, he didn't like that. So his solution, let's have him killed. Wow. He also, prior to that, he was declaring bankruptcy. He had published a calendar, the Male Chippendales calendar for 1987. He did 31 days for every month of 1987. So that was like $1 million hit, recalling those. He wasn't letting black people in the clubs. He was getting sued. Trip and falls. Fire department was closing down.
But you know what? Because you can't have dudes in the audience with bigger dicks than the dancers. You're like, what am I watching this for? Huh?
So, I guess
you know what I mean? You're like, well, that ain't shit. Gil,
Right.
put that thing out. Let's get out of here. Just pay our tab and get the hell out of here.
About 10 p.m., they used to fling the doors wide open, let the guys in, right?
Yeah, and then the girls were all horny and
all
didn't work for me.
That's crazy.
Remember that Bachelor Party, movie Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks?
Oh yeah.
It had the Chippendales scene where the guy they call him Nick the Dick, and he put he put his dick between a hot dog, and the mom is grabbing it, and she's pulling it, and then they cut to, and she's like dazed. She goes, "I had a wang in my hand." That was good. So
we had all this information, and we just had what were we going to do with it, right? We had to corroborate it. So that's what this guy's locked up now. How do we got to get him out of jail? And now the owner of Chippendales, we find out, had been giving this guy money for his lawyer fees. Eventually gave him about $250,000 for hush money and be quiet.
Wow.
So he knew he was locked up, and so it was a matter of getting him out of jail and trying to figure out, getting this owner of Chippendales on tape, admitting that he had paid this guy for the murder for hire, the arsons, and all. So that's what we did. We freed him under a ruse that he had a medical condition, which he actually did, but put that out there, and so we set on our path of trying to get this guy on tape. Not very easy though.
Wow.
He knew it. He knew this guy was cooperating, but he didn't. He wanted to be reassured he wasn't. So we had this one meeting in Santa Monica in June of it was 92 at that point. Takes him into the men's room of the hotel, has him stripped down to his skivvies, looking for our recording device. And I had this Italian tailor I knew. I had him sew in a pocket in his shorts, and because we suspected he was going to frisk him, and luckily he didn't find it. But he wouldn't even talk to him. Even though we had a recorder, he would write notes on a sticky note, hand it to him. He would write back, and every time he tried to talk, our guy, so he wouldn't talk to him. So we knew we were fucked.
How about that, man? How about that fucking method there?
Yeah. Still paying him money, though. After that meeting, he gave him $40,000 in an envelope. So they did discuss that there. The owner said, hey, why don't you go over to India, because he was Indian, and why don't you go over there and I'll set you up, live like a king. And our informant said, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to kill me over there on the operating room table. If I get a plastic surgery, you'll kill me. So eventually we came up with a ruse to, we made it believe or made it seem that our guy went on the run, become a fugitive. Got him a fake passport, got him a disguise. We put a warrant in the computer just in case the owner would check with a cop friend of his, see if he actually became a fugitive. And that's what we did. We go over to Italy, and the plan was once we get overseas, we're going to send a fax to Chippendales and say we want to bring the tour over to Rome. So we get over there, and a little detail we forgot to plan for. The guy was Indian. He wasn't a citizen, so he couldn't get into Italy without a visa, and it was going to take 30 days. And we're there sitting in fucking Rome for 2 weeks, and we got to come up with plan B because the FBI's not going to like guys sitting on a government dollar for 30 more days. So the owner said, hey, I'm going to be in Geneva. I can drive over to Zurich and meet you. So, oh, shit, I'm going to be able to do this? And I said, okay, we'll get back to you tomorrow. Got to the office the next day. We started sending faxes and emails all over, back to headquarters and back to Zurich. Yeah, Zurich said, the police said, come on up and we'll help you guys out. And we did. We hopped on a plane. We got up to Zurich, Switzerland. and met with a great bunch of cops. I mean, these guys, we brought our recording equipment in there. They looked at it and they kind of thumbed it, get this stuff out of here. We got Swiss watches here, right? We're not going to use your cheap American recording equipment. They wired up this hotel room, so we make a call. The owner of Chippendales, we got a surveillance team coming in the airport from Geneva. He goes to the Ramada Renaissance. Our guy calls him at a prearranged time, says, come over to my hotel room. He goes, no, I'm not going to go there. Let's meet the Hilton. Fuck. Now we got to go to another hotel, right?
Wow.
Wire up his jacket. Send
That's
him
smart, man, huh?
Yeah, this guy's crafty, right? But still, right? He knew the guy, in his heart of hearts, he knew the guy was cooperating, but he wanted to be reassured that he wasn't ratting him out to the FBI. And he goes over to the restaurant. They meet in a cafe. And what's the first thing our informant does? We got the microphone in his jacket. He takes his jacket off. He puts it on the bench next to him. I said, oh, fuck. And I'm listening on the transmitter in the car with my Swiss partner, right? I've got to do something. I go in there to the lobby of the hotel. I get my overcoat. It's cold. And I take it on, take it off, take it on, take it off 3 times in front of the doorway, hoping our guy would see us. He didn't see us. Right? The Swiss cops said, leave it up to us. They go in. They close the restaurant down. They tell the maitre d', you guys are closed now, to get everybody out. And they did. They got everybody. Jacket on. Yeah, he put his jacket on, but he doesn't come back to the hotel. He goes to the bar. Imagine doing a recording in a bar. The piano guy's playing, right. Glasses are clinking, people are drinking, the bartender. So we still have we're getting some tidbits. We're still not getting enough. After about 2 hours in the bar, they finally go back to the hotel room. And it was like a recording studio, the way these Swiss did it, as clear as this podcast, I'm sure.
Wow, man.
And they just talked about everything. And the owner said, the Chippendale says, do they know I gave you the money for the guns? Do they know I gave you the money for he called it the D, because the guy's name was Denoya. And we got everything on tape, clear as a bell. Go back to this, we don't arrest him, right? Because we have to do grand jury, get an indictment. We have to make believe our guy's still on the run as a fugitive. So we have to go back to the States, hide him out. And we do an indictment. We go pick him up, and the owner of Chippendales arrests him September of 93. Arrest him outside Chippendales, the business offices, and he says, this is bullshit. I'll beat this case. I got good lawyers.
Wow.
Right? A year later, he pleads guilty to RICO, racketeering. Right? The RICO law is the one we used against the mob, and we charged him as using his business like the mob would. Arson, murder for hire, murder.
Right, so that's RICO, yeah.
That's RICO, and you're able to seize the business. So the government was in line to forfeit Chippendales, and we would have owned it. What does he do the day of his sentencing? He hangs himself in his jail cell downtown L.A. And so because he didn't go in that day to court and get a sentence, he pled this 26 years. That was the plea bargain. When you're not sentenced, you're not convicted, and when you're not convicted, there's no forfeiture. So we got fucked.
Wow, man. The guy, he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing, yeah.
So it all went to his family, basically.
He went to his family. Eventually the wife got everything.
I think Aaron Hernandez did that, kind of.
Yeah, Hernandez did that. Epstein allegedly did that, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein. So, it's not surprising. I mean, that's what I kind of feel. That's what Laundrie did, Brian Laundrie. Just to circle back on that, I kind of feel that's what he did. Maybe killed himself
because the future's not good for him. He knows it.
He knows.
And he's not. I mean, he's a sociopath in a sense, right? But he's still a young man, whatever his life would be. But I think you kind of painted your own picture that the future's not going to be good for him. Probably easier.
Yeah, especially when you get to prison, right? Guys that kill women, they don't fare as well as maybe a gangster shot another homeboy or something like that. But as we know, so that was the Chippendales case in a nutshell. But the other part of it, we had the actual hitman. The guy did the murder in New York in '87.
Wow.
It was an NYPD investigation, and that guy turned out he was locked up out in Norco on a narco charge, and we had to figure out how to get our guy into prison with a wire on without, you ever try to do anything in prison, you can't keep anything a secret.
Right.
So we had to do that. And it took us 3 times to get him on tape admitting that he actually pulled the trigger and killed a guy in New York in '87. First time, there was a problem in the prison, so there was a lockdown and the tape recording's running, so by the time he gets in, the tape's out. Second time, it gets worse.
This was nuts. This is the craziest part of the podcast to me.
The second time, our informant, our informant was somebody somewhere along the lines of, you remember Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon, kind of like want to be with the guys. Hey guys, I want to be one of the guys. But he was he's a criminal, right? And we had to keep him with us. He was supposed to be under our custody and our protection, but we wanted to get rid of him, But he was that kind of guy. So he meant well, but he wasn't the brightest. So we wire him up here in Westwood at the FBI office, and we got about a 2-hour drive out to Norco on traffic. Well, what does he do? He turns the recording device in the car, records our whole conversation on the way from Westwood to Norco, and by the time he gets into the jail cell or into the jail courtyard, prison courtyard, he thinks he's turning it on. He turns it off, so we don't hear any of the conversation. So that's
and you got like a full confession in that one, basically,
yeah,
right? Because you were listening.
I was listening. Got a full
yeah.
confession, and that was early December of '90. I think that was '93 at the time, or '92. And then I listened to the tape, and there's nothing on there. So my partner and I went up to him. We said, "What the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to sabotage this investigation? What are you doing? You shut the thing off. You heard our whole conversation. You calling the prosecutor. I see you next Tuesday. You going after the judge. What'd you do? You put our ass in a bind here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm 100% with you guys. I'll do my best." So now we got to get him into the prison again. So Christmas Eve, it's '92. Christmas Eve of '92, he gets in the third time to see this guy, Louis Rivera, Gilberto Lopez Rivera. So he gets, we called him Louis. He gets him in, and finally, I got 2 recording devices on him. I got a transmitter on him. I'm not going to blow this one. And they have this one crucial part of the conversation where Louis tells our informant, says, "Yep. I walked into the room. I asked him if you're Nick DeNoia. He stood up. He had a smile on his face. I pulled my gun out. Smile went away. And then next thing I see is the red dot." The informant goes, "What do you mean the red dot?" He goes, "Where the bullet went in his face." And that's all we needed. And that was it.
Wow.
Ka-ching.
Yeah, that's nice. It's beautiful.
That's
because nothing, even at the highest level, like nothing's ever reliable. I never heard a story where the guy took his jacket off. Then he hits the thing and records that. Like
best laid plans, man. They always go best laid plans. And then the problem was this guy Lopez. The ruse we used to get him to talk about a murder 5 years before. We told him he had to go back and kill the witness in the office. There was a witness in the front of the office. It was like adjoining offices, and he said he had to go back and kill that guy. Our guy's getting out of Norco prison like 2 months later, expecting another $25,000 to go kill somebody else. So we had to do something with him, get him on ice, because we didn't have the owner locked up yet. So luckily he wasn't legally here in the United States. He had been previously deported several times, so we got ice to lock him up.
Yeah.
And on a 5-year charge, we kept him good. NYPD went down, eventually got him confessing to the murder, but he still went to trial. Even though he confessed, got him on tape, he confessed to NYPD, he still took it to trial in New York a couple of years later. Guilty.
Do you imagine that, like Bugsy Siegel had this vision for Las Vegas, and then he got shot through his eyes because he was over budget.
Yeah, screwing the mob.
Yeah.
Maybe intentionally or unintentionally, right?
Right. And I just don't think, he had his girl there, and his fucking girl was crazy, and he's trying to, then the contractors are charging him double. He doesn't know what the fuck, things cost. And, he gets taken out over there in Beverly Hills. There's, pictures of him there. Yeah. And then you see what, Vegas has become.
Vegas become because of him.
Yeah.
Well, and look what Chippendales become, right? A cultural phenomenon.
Right.
There's been lots of imitators, right? Thunder from Down Under was one.
And it's all derived from Chippendales, right?
And supposedly, this is what not many people know. As the legend goes, the idea came from Paul Snider and Dorothy Stratton.
That's right.
Right? From
Star 80.
Star 80, right? The Playboy Playmate of the Year in 1980, Dorothy Stratton. Her sicko boyfriend, Paul Snider.
Crazy motherfucker.
Right, crazy motherfucker. Supposedly they're Canadian, and supposedly he saw this male striptease act in Canada.
Right.
Goes to Chippendales, says, "Hey, you ought to try this," because they were doing like mud wrestling, backgammon at the club. They were doing all this kind of stuff, and so they tried it. They tried, and it was it was kind of lewd and bawdy, and it wasn't real. It wasn't a show to it. It was just guys coming out, taking their clothes off, women waving dollar bills, and come kiss them on the lips for $1.
Right.
And there's this guy, DeNoia. DeNoia was married to, in the past, Jennifer O'Neill. Remember from Summer 42? Who doesn't remember Jennifer O'Neill from Summer 42?
I was just talking about Summer 42. These guys didn't know, and I said, Jennifer O'Neill. And I think we were on the road. And funny you say that, because
Jennifer, that was,
if you're out there, Jennifer O'Neill,
gorgeous woman.
818-533.
Even though she's 85, I don't give a fuck.
So Nick was married to her, won Emmys. So he came in, he made the show, he transformed it to something. Women like a story, right? So the guys would come in, they'd be the perfect man, like Frankenstein would be created, right?
Yeah, sure.
Women love that stuff, and choreography and good music, and he transformed it, and it became. But they were, the Indian guy here, Banerjee, was envious because he was getting all the attention as being the creator of Chippendales.
I mean, they did it on Saturday Night Live. Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley was awesome.
I was just looking up the date of that. It was 1990.
What was that?
Right
1990.
1990,
in the midst of all that, yeah.
And that dude, so Paul Snyder, did he realize that he was onto something there? But because he was sleazy.
He was, yeah.
Like a fucking fur coat to the Playboy Mansion with some big medallion and camel toe and shit. With his pants tucked in his boots, like you, Gil. The first time I saw his picture, right now I see him, but it's like when you got out of the car and your pants were tucked in your boots. And then I said, "Collaborate!" And you fucking dropped me, He dropped his keys, trying to fucking hide. I saw the cane roll up on the car. I said, "Hey, I see your cane coming up." When you see somebody dipping, I was we're shooting. Talk about like being undercover. So there's this guy at an alleged golf course. I don't like a lot of Tokyo. I didn't join a golf course to be friends with the members. Like I just want to play golf. First of all, I look more like the staff than I look like the members. And I would run into this dude, the landscaper, and so I run into this dude. We're filming at the Odyssey in Mission Hills, where we used to go out there, and we're filming in there, and then we're filming in the one part of the restaurant. Below, there's a bar overlooking, the valley. And I go down there, and this dude has a martini with this woman, and they're just as they're tipping, they go like this. And the dude looks at me, shit goes all over his head, and he's like, "Fuck," because that's not his wife. And I was like, and he saw me, man, and the fucking just, you seen that when the blood runs out of somebody's face, you're just like, what the fuck is he? The last person that I want to see. I didn't rat him out. I think he ratted himself out. I think he felt that I would, but I'm not a rat. I don't care if I don't like the guy. But I think
you're a stand-up guy.
I think he took the lead. He said, "I better do it before."
He knew the jig was up, whether it was you or someone
He saw
else.
me, and it's just and, martini everywhere. It's like, what's the matter?
You're not a rat, but yet you told a story about when I got out of the car and my pants were tucked into my boots.
That's alleged. I didn't say what color boots. I didn't say where. I didn't say the style. That dingoes, the one OJ used to run through the airport with. But that's all of that stuff, man, is I think more fascinating if you see what the documentary has become versus the shows that we do. Squid Games is like #1 everywhere,
crazy.
And it's Korean. I mean, we can't.
I was mesmerized right now listening to him tell the story because I know it's real.
Yep,
and I know it's from a real
real.
cop. Nobody's making it up. It's from Scott that I'd worked with that I know. And I was just sitting here.
It's 30 years ago. That's what I can't get over. It's 30 years ago, and people still want to talk about this story. 91 is when September 91 is when I actually started it. And and all of a sudden, Nightline's doing that. 2020 is going to be on Friday. I don't know when you're airing, but 2020 is going to be on Friday night. Whole 2 hours on this case, and it's on Discovery Plus now. It's like, okay. And then
what's the fascination of it? Because it's exotic dancers and
I think it's because you have this you have this image of Chippendales and lighthearted and fun and going there for your bachelorette party or whatever, and then behind it, under the surface, is all this murder and scheming and double crossing and it's just I think that's it.
I watched the new FBI show, the new one on there, and they're
hold on.
Hey, stop cutting your hair like Mike.
Advisor.
I'm just looking at your hair.
You looked who the technical advisor was.
Technical advisor was Scott Garriola. And when I saw it, I said, well, shit, I want to watch this whole thing. Because, see, when I'd see Scott, it's in the office. Never saw him anyplace. Hey, come in, here's all the work.
Right.
That's
right.
So I don't know how many people he had working behind him at what office, out of a car, out of a bar, whatever he was doing. And I watched this show the other day. Now, did you have that many people working for you?
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. We had, when I knew you, we had 2 sheriff's deputies, 2 LAPD, and myself.
Amazing.
And that was our team. And that's what it was nonstop. Never, I arrest Gil. I remember the case you had was a really good case. It was the murder of the 7-Eleven clerk, Duarte. Right.
Monrovia.
Monrovia or Duarte?
Right there on
Right there on the
Foothill.
Why was that one? Because there's murders everywhere, but
It was just a innocent 7-Eleven clerk. Right?
Iqbal Syed Hussein.
Yep.
Wow.
I remember the family.
like Howard
family
Stern
on
would
the
do.
news.
Guilty.
I still, every once in a while, I get a text from one of the brothers.
I think we caught one guy in Minnesota, I think. And, we caught one guy here, but and there was thousands of those cases, right? That was, but that one I remember specifically. It's easier to remember those cases than
because the innocent
Flacco
dude
killed Pookie, right? And
Right.
the 2 gang members, or the Blood and the Crips, or whatever, going after somebody. It's easier to remember this one.
I think potentially I'm gonna watch this one, but I think in this one, I think that the Wonderland murders. I don't think there's been a docuseries on that. You know, John Holmes and the guy Eddie Nash in that nightclub.
I remember that one.
And he went in there and left the sliding. I mean,
Up in Lower Canyon.
He
Yeah, they did a movie.
left the
Didn't they do a
sliding.
movie?
Yes,
he did
he
the
did.
movie. Yeah, he left the sliding glass. He said, "Go in there."
Yep.
He was all coked out. I think he had AIDS. John Holmes at
Yep.
that time, and went there and left the sliding glass door open. And then they went in there and just
Butchered
fucking
everybody.
pulverized everybody. And I think maybe if you look at the reality of what you look at Succession or you look at Billions. I mean, people are fascinated by that, but nothing is as fascinating as even listening to someone talk about real crime, as opposed to sitting there and watching a Showtime version of embezzling. Is not as much as watching Bernie Madoff or watching stuff on Whitey Bulger. You know, although Black Mass was pretty good.
They cut my part out at the end. The whole arrest scene.
Oh.
They cut it out.
Were you in it? Do you have a cameo or just
Well,
you?
they cast somebody to play me. Of course, they
Because when
cast
he
an
walked
Italian
out,
guy.
when he walked out,
Right.
that's how they got him in that parking lot right there in Santa Monica.
We got him. We rused him down in the parking lot. Yeah. Otherwise, and luckily we did, because I don't know if you want to get into the whole story, but yeah, we get the tip that day. That day.
One of his neighbors, right? Was it a
It
woman?
was a person who. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be cautious.
I'm sorry.
It was the
I
tip.
just got someone killed your mother.
That detail was never revealed.
How
How did you know?
He said he wasn't a rat.
Hi, this is Scott again. Could you edit that? So now there's two things. Can you make my introduction just just under 5 minutes? That's all I can. And then can we just eliminate that other part?
They got the word contractually too. I didn't take that word out of the whole thing.
Fucking collaborator. But yeah, because those guys, you live under way under.
16 years under the radar.
Crazy.
He was, yeah. Took off from Boston with one woman, circles the United States with her, right? She gets tired. She's got 4 kids back in Boston, goes back, drops her off, does like an exchange, picks up his other girlfriend, Catherine Gregg, and takes off with her and winds up in Santa Monica on 3rd and Washington, Santa Monica. I lived a block away when I was in school.
Damn.
Right? So it's kind of crazy. So that day, I'm off. I got 3 kids. I'm home the week between, school ends, summer camp's not starting yet. I'm off with 3 friggin' kids at home, driving me crazy. And luckily, I get a call from Boston, say, "Hey, we just got a tip. We did this public service announcement, and we think it's a good tip on where Whitey is." Now,
You know what? I remember that public service announcement.
You do?
I do.
30 seconds.
It would have his picture and it would say, "This is what we're looking right here." If it's voiceover with just the
Voiceover,
frame.
but they had her on it. The key was they put her picture on it. They had plastic surgery pictures of her that they had really close, high def pictures
wow. Okay.
prior to her plastic surgery and really close ups on her face.
I think I've got it here. If you guys want to hear
Yeah,
it.
let's see it.
Yeah, put it on.
Yeah.
Yours is the third one up, Gil.
30, it should be 30 seconds.
I got the security footage. I know you went in to try to get the camera.
By the FBI. Have you seen
From-
this woman? The FBI is offering $100,000 for tips leading to Catherine Grieg's whereabouts. These photos are from the early 1990s. Grieg has had plastic surgeries. She is.
We need the headphones. Here, Gil, just throw those back on the table. What's that, Aaron?
Turn yours up and then
Yeah, I've already
Oh, it is on there, but okay.
turn the headphones up
All right.
so everyone can just.
You're efficient up until
All right, here. How about this?
Have you
Oh, there it is. Okay, look.
The FBI is offering $100,000 for tips leading to Catherine Grieg's whereabouts.
Look at those pictures of her.
These photos are from the early 1990s. Grieg has
Oh,
had
wow.
plastic surgeries. She is wanted for harboring James Whitey Bulger, a fugitive on the FBI's 10 most wanted.
There it is, yeah.
60-year-old Grieg is the girlfriend of 81-year-old Bulger. He has a violent temper and is charged with 19 murders. Call the tip line at 1-800.
Scott's on your ass, Scott.
Scott was on vacation that day.
Did he ever have a? Did he have a day? I think he. Did he ever work? You think he worked after 16 years? I think you think you critique every. People get sloppy sometimes. Just I'll go down and get it or some shit like that. Like she changed her face, but that did it, right?
Yeah, that's what's and how many people may have saw that, right, over the 14 markets, and then it was broadcast by CNN all over the world.
Wow.
And we got one call. A call came in. There was a call came into L.A. And she didn't feel satisfied with the response she got. She called headquarters, D.C., She didn't feel satisfied with their response, and she called Boston. So the next morning, on June 22nd, 2011, Boston calls me. I'm at Dick's Sporting Goods with my 3 kids, trying to keep them occupied. And actually, I got an email, and I'm reading it. So, we got a hot lead. Need somebody to roll out and cover a Whitey Bulger lead. Now, this is 2011. I had worked plenty of fugitive leads on them. I worked organized crime cases. I covered plenty of fugitive leads on them back then. I said, this is bullshit. I'm not fucking going to go out again. I got 3 kids. What am I going to do? I'm going to get a babysitter. And then Gil will test this. You get this feeling in your stomach that, hey, this is, something's good with this one, right? And I was responding. I deleted my email, said, just call me. They called me. They told me about the PSA, the public service announcement. And this woman that called said she's, sure it's him. Got the kids back home, got the mother-in-law. I sent a text. I had 4 LAPD guys working with me that day. I said, I've got to roll to Santa Monica, got a hot lead on Whitey Bulger. The text come back, who's Whitey Bulger? I go, hey, did you see Jack Nicholson in The Departed? Okay, he's based on that character, right? Okay, meet me down there. So on the way down, I'm trying to, I'm on the phone calling all my sources, trying to, check everything. We have the name, Charlie and Carol Gasco, but I'm trying to, get a background on these people. Can't find anything on them. Wow. I'm thinking, I kind of grew up in Santa Monica when I came out here for school. I'm saying, okay, back in the 80s, there was a huge immigration of Russian Jews when the wall went down, and Santa Monica, so maybe that's they don't have a real background to them because they're immigrants. And that's okay, I'll go for that. Nothing would come up on them. We get down there, we set up on the place, I go in, turns out the apartment complex, and there's a hotel across the street, a little boutique hotel, and owned by the same people. So I go into the hotel, look for the manager. He's off that day. So I get him on the phone. He goes, hey, man, I'm off today. I said, hey, I was off today, too. I came in. I said,
fucking 3 kids.
I said, you're right across the street. Just come over to the hotel. I want to talk to you. So eventually he comes over. I got a couple of pictures. I cover the wanted thing on the top, right? Just slide him the pictures, and immediately he drops his head into his hands and starts shaking his head like this and said, I know those people. I go, yeah, who are they? He goes, that's Charlie and Carol Gasco. I go, those are my next door neighbors. I go, these people are your next door neighbor? How long have they been your neighbors for? He goes, about 5 years. I go, okay. I go, that's Whitey Bulger and Catherine Gregg. Whitey's, one of the most wanted men, if not the most wanted man in America at this point. And he goes, well, I know who Whitey Bulger is. I said, how do you know who Whitey Bulger is? He goes, well, I lived in Boston for 5 years. I said, well, let me get this straight. You lived in Boston for 5 years, and you lived next door to these people for 5 years, and you never put 2 and 2 together. He goes, well, I never saw a picture of him until now. I said, all right. I said, well, there's a $2 million reward on his head. And
wait a minute, I think it's all coming.
All right. Yeah, well, I said, but obviously somebody led us right to the doorstep here. I said, if what you're saying is true and it's them, there's still $100,000 on her head. She's wanted for aiding and abetting and harboring a fugitive. I said, we may have some leeway with that. He goes, okay, let's go down and talk in the basement. So we go down and talk in the back. I get a little worried at that point, right? I think maybe this is some kind of tripwire, they call it, right? Sure. Whitey's paid this guy to, take me out in the basement if they ever come looking for me. We go down there and I tell him, hey, this is what I need. I need X, Y, and Z, and I need a key to the place. And I need a subpoena. I need a search warrant. I said, how about $100,000? Story changed, right? Okay, what do you need? I said, well, let's go over. I want to see what we can do to get him out of the place. When's the last time you saw him? I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. I'm worried now, right? Because maybe he saw the PSA and took off.
Right.
So we were able to get a room in a hotel, same floor, 3rd floor as their apartment. I put a guy up in there. I had 3 guys just covering the exterior. I said, let's go over. I want to see before I try a ruse. He said, well, what ruse do you want to try? I said, I got a whole bunch of ruses. That won't work. This won't work. That won't work. I said, let's go over to the garage next door and the building. We go over in there, and I see these storage lockers above these carport areas.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember in Santa Monica, you used to have them, you have a combination lock on it, and a little space for you, numbered. I said, does he have one? He goes, yeah, he has this one over here. I went over and I looked. The name Gasco was on it. I said, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to cut the lock. I'm going to take some shit out of there, throw it on the floor. You're going to go back. You're going to call them, and we're going to get them to come down. You tell them we're going to call the police if something's missing, but if nothing's missing, then I'm not going to call the police. I figured they wouldn't want the cops called, right? And what fugitive's going to want to have to be interviewed by the cops? So he goes, okay. He says, I'll go back over. I went upstairs with him to his apartment. Turned out they live right next door to each other, the manager and Whitey. And I tried to figure everything I could to see if I could hear any noise coming out of their voices. I put the old glass to the wall, but those buildings are plaster. You can't hear shit through them. Right. So I said, go back to the office. I called my office in Westwood. I said, hey, I need some backup here. Just send me 3 people. Have them stay a block away. I took my 3 LAPD guys, put them in a car in the garage. I got in my car in the garage. We had the one guy looking from his observation post, and he says, hey, I see the female. The female just came out to the balcony. It's a pretty good look for her. Now I'm feeling good, right? Nice. Boston's texting me, what's going on? What's going on? I said, hey, just let me handle it and see what happens. So, and this is about, we got down there about 12 o'clock that afternoon. This is about 6 o'clock. So we're waiting in the basement. I called the manager and I said, hey, make the phone call. Tell him your storage locker was burglarized. Makes the phone call, calls me back, said, there's no answer. I said, okay. I said, well, plan B, go knock on the door and tell him you're the manager, right? That's what a manager would do. He goes, I'm not going to do that. I go, why not? He goes, I just Googled him. He killed 19 people. Said, oh, fucking Google. So,
I fucking Googled him. He killed 19 people.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
I say, hey, just hang tight. Let me think of plan B. So I tell my guys on the radio, hey, sit tight for a little bit. Got to come up with plan B. And before I could do that, he calls me back. Said, all right, he's on his way down. And he said, I just spoke to the wife. She's sending him down. Sure enough, you hear the elevator coming from the 3rd floor, coming down to the basement. I'm looking in my rear view. I see this old timer come out. He's got the hat on, nice crisp jeans, whitish shirt. Goes in, makes the right turn, goes to the storage locker, puts his hands on his hips, starts shaking it, and we just bum rushed him. And the fucker just he barely put his hands up, and he started taking a couple of bunny hops to the right, and immediately, is this guy running on me? 81 years old, he's running on me. And he wouldn't get down on his knees because of the oil and the parking spots in the garage. Right. So he finally got down. I said, what's your name? And he goes, you identify yourself. I go, all right. I can hear the accent now, the Boston accent, the unmistakable Boston accent, right? I said, I'm Scott Garriola with the FBI, and I got a warrant for your arrest. He goes, okay. I go, you don't want to tell me your name? He goes, no, you know who I am. Simultaneously, this woman starts in the garage, starts getting my attention. Come on over. She tells me, he's got Alzheimer's. I go, what? She goes, that guy there, he's got Charlie Gasco, he's got Alzheimer's. My fucking heart just sunk into my stomach. I'm thinking, now I just arrested an 81-year-old guy who may have Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that. So I go over to him and I say, hey, listen, will you tell me who your name is? The woman over there says you have Alzheimer's. He starts screaming, fuck that woman, she's a fucking nut, she's got to be crazy. I'm James J. Bulger. That's who I am. I said, all right, that's all I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear you say your name. So, I mean, there's no decency, no discretion, just start screaming at the woman from 15 feet away. So I said, hey, is Catherine upstairs? I knew she was, right? Catherine upstairs? He goes, yeah. I go, any weapons in the apartment? He goes, yeah, and they're all loaded. I said, are you telling me I got to get a SWAT team to get Catherine out? He goes, no. Give me the phone. I'll call her. All the guns are in my room. She's never held a gun in her hand. I'll call her. She'll come down. I said, I can't do that. I said, give me the keys. I'll go up. I'll treat her like a gentleman. I'll get her out. This time, I grabbed one of the female agents that had responded from our office. Her and another guy. We went up, knocked on the door, covered the people. Santa Monica police, ma'am. She opens the door, and all she said was, I knew it. And that was it. Wow. Put handcuffs on her. Dragged him downstairs, and I asked her for consent to search the place. She said, what did he say? I said, well, let's go find out. Take him down there, and I said, hey, guys, I'd like to search your place. You tell me there's a bunch of weapons in there. Will you guys give me consent? He looked at her, and he goes, they're going to get it anyway, might as well. He goes, yeah. So I took his handcuffs off. I gave him one. We have a consent to search form. All right. He signs his name, James J. Bulger, and he looks at me and goes, first time I've signed that name in a long time. So I had both of them sign the name because nobody actually had control of the apartment. They both were, they weren't no lease. So I said, you both sign it for me. They both signed it, and I said, okay, well, tell me what's up there. Oh, I got about $500,000 under the bed. I got weapons. I pulled this book out. There's a fake book with a 22 in there. I said, whoa. I said, okay, there's a lot in there. Will you take me upstairs and show me? He goes, yeah. I went upstairs, and he said, take that mirror down in the little bar. There's going to be a bunch of weapons in there. There's going to be money in there. Take this bag underneath. There's going to be money in there. That book is 357s over there. All total, we found about $823,000 cash in the walls, and we found 33 weapons, and a bunch of them were loaded. And I asked him, I said, hey, Whitey, I said, what's with the loaded weapons? I said, are you going to shoot it out with us if we would have came through the door to get you? He kind of paused for a bit, and he said, I think a stray bullet would have hit somebody, I'm assuming meaning Catherine. So would you have fought with us? He goes, yeah, I would have fought with you on the streets. He said, I didn't carry a weapon outside, but I would have fought with my fist. He was a tough son of a bitch at 81. Let me tell you, he had a boxing dummy in the corner of his room.
Right.
He was fit. He was fit as 81. 10 years earlier, I think he would have been, giving us a hell of a run. But yeah, he's good, fun, typical old mobster style, quick with the jokes, She was just kind of submissive and demure to him, and that's how we got him. And took him to court, got him there the next day, and then by the time I got out of the apartment, you can imagine the streets were closed off. Hundreds of media people out there. Santa Monica had to close off 2 or 3 streets. It was crazy. So. Good little hook, and went back. I testified at the trial. I had to bring all the evidence back to Boston, obviously. I testified. I was the last witness for the government. And he winds up, got convicted. I think he got convicted of maybe 17 of the 19 murders, and, he got, I don't know how many life sentences he got. And, the epilogue is that a few years ago, they transfer him he gets transferred from Arizona to Florida because he starts doing some corrupting of a prison staff member in Arizona, getting letters to Catherine, who was also locked up, around the normal prison rules, right? Transfer him to Florida. He goes to Florida, threatens a staff member. You don't do that in a Bureau of Prisons, so they transfer him to a higher level security. He goes to a prison in West Virginia, and he gets there that night. Next morning, he's beaten to death in his prison cell with a sock with a bunch of rocks or something in there, coins, metal. Beaten to death.
What was that?
Padlock in there?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sock and a bunch of padlocks. And, they still got a guy, from what I heard, they still got a guy locked up in solitary, and that was 3 years ago, maybe? I don't remember when it was. 3 years ago? Yeah, 4 years, 3 years. So.
Do you think he knew that would happen to him? I think Jeffrey Dahmer knew that was going to happen to him.
I don't know. I mean, he's got to figure he's a legend, but the problem was the guy that alleged to have beaten him was a Genovese associate, not from Boston, but from Springfield, Mass, right? So same state, same, different mafia family, but he's alleged the one who had done it, and supposedly he didn't like rats. And, Whitey had the jacket on for being a rat after we testified. In the trial, they exposed him as he had a huge informant file with the FBI. And that's another whole part of the story, right? His handling agent and the supervisor both were accused of, giving him confidential information in exchange for information on the mafia. They let Whitey do his stuff with his Winter Hill gang, the Irish mob, in exchange for taking down the Italian mob. That's, the allegations against the FBI in that. But it was 16 years of, that problem the FBI faced when everything came out about corrupt FBI agents. So they had to rebuild their relationship up there. But he got, in the end, I guess he got, got to what he deserved. He was 90, I think he was almost 91 by that time, because it was 90 years old probably by the time he died. Catherine just got out. Catherine got out a couple of years ago, so she's free. She got 7 or 8 years for harboring, aiding and abetting. So
89. He passed at 89.
He was 89 years old? Okay, almost 90.
But without threatening that agent, he would have stayed in Arizona. I think the further he got to Florida, it's a little bit dangerous, and then you go to West Virginia. So by his own hand, he's.
West Virginia was like a penitentiary, so that's where I worked up at the penitentiary here in Lompoc on some cases, and that's it's just like being in Pelican Bay or San Quentin. It's rough.
Is it? You've been to the Metropolitan where Epstein was. I think is that where El Chapo was for a while.
Oh, I was in New York. Right? The MCC, where Epstein killed himself.
Where fucking El Chapo's like, hey man, this prison is fucking awful. Like, get me out of here. It's damp and rodents and shit. It's like a fucking dungeon down there.
Yeah, the MCC, Metropolitan Correctional Center.
And everybody that goes in there, and that's El Chapo. To his attorneys, like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Well, it's like the guys I tell you I bring back from Mexico or wherever I bring them back from Istanbul. It's like, thank God you came and got me. I'm tired of living in a hellhole.
Yeah.
And Chapo, with his money, had it made in Mexico. That's why he didn't want to come over here.
Yeah.
That's right, because they still let him operate and do that stuff. But you think Whitey Bulger, they stayed there for that. Did anybody believe that the hotel manager didn't know? I was like, you knew him from Boston, and then And then
I don't think he knew. I don't think he was.
don't be turning your little tricks over there, cabrón. You're gone more than 5 minutes. We're gonna come and get you.
I don't think the manager knew. Honestly, I didn't. I think he was.
Because when you're a manager, you're at nighttime. You're not. You're dealing with people every day.
You know what gave him away?
Your thoughts not on.
What gave him away was he kept on passing himself off as from Chicago. And anybody who's been traveled a little bit can tell the difference between a Chicago accent and a Boston accent.
Yeah,
that Boston accent is unmistakable. So the person who wound up calling us said, there was a couple of clues. One was they met each other over a stray cat. And that was kind of the thing with Catherine and him. They loved animals, right? They had these 2 standard poodles that they were crazy in love with. And some of the leads we covered looking for him was going to the pet shops and groomers. That was one of the things. The other thing was the accent. He claims he's from Chicago, but he sounds like he's from Boston. Mm-hmm. And the third thing was he was a friggin' racist, man. He was all over it was during Obama's term. Obama sucks, blacks, this and that. So a racist. So that was another thing because he was involved heavily in the 70s with the anti-busing riots in Boston.
Right.
So all these things, when the person called in, it was like, hey, this makes sense. Well, that makes sense, and this makes sense, and So, and that's why when I finally heard the story, I said, all right, come and get me. I'll get a babysitter. Send me the lead.
So you knew, like you guys said, that you get that feeling that this is something.
You get a hunch, right? You get the hunch, and it happens once in a while. Hey, maybe let's go to this place instead of that place, and it works out. Sometimes.
And he wasn't like, you motherfuckers got,
He was in the beginning. He was like, fuck you guys, motherfuckers, you identify yourself, And then once I brought up Catherine, the girlfriend, and I asked if she was upstairs, and I need a SWAT team to get her. He what he said was, everything I do, I'll cooperate with you guys. Everything I do, I want to go to her benefit. He knew he was fucked. He ain't getting away after in charge of 19 murders. Yeah, no shit. He wanted everything to. I said, listen, I can't promise you anything. I'm not the judge or the prosecutor. What I can do is I can let them know that you were very cooperative with me. You signed a consent to search. You went up there. You pointed out where all the weapons were. You even told me about an inert grenade that was in the wall.
No shit.
So we didn't have to worry about that. The 33 weapons. You told me which ones were loaded. You told me where all the money was, all the fake IDs that he had. And it turned out what he was doing. He was going to the Santa Monica Bluffs, where a lot of transients and homeless live, and he was finding someone that looked like him, and he would just co-opt them and buy their life, buy their identity. He'd buy people's driver's license, social security cards, military discharge papers, and then he would befriend them.
Wow,
and
smart.
Wow. And one guy, we knew 2 guys specifically. One guy had he told us that he drank himself to death in kind of like a flop house by our office in Westwood, and so he said once I found out that guy died, I went over. I was using his car. I dumped the car off, wiped all the prints down, dumped a bottle of vodka all around the car, left the keys, and I had a bank account open in his name. I never touched it again, right? Because he knew the guy was dead. He was smart. Then I went and found another guy that looked like him, and he went and found this other guy. So now this other guy's alive. And Boston says to me, they said, we want you to go find that guy, and we go interview him, and then give him a subpoena, have him come back to Boston and testify in a grand jury. And I said, all right, but he's going to be probably a transient, so that I get an address on him, figure out where he is in the valley. I go out there, I knock on his door. It's like these little one-room flop houses, 2 stories. Mm-hmm. Knock on the door, no answer. I'm banging on the door. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm banging on the door. And then finally people are coming out. Hey, we saw him about 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the last time we saw him. I said, all right, let me go around. I went around the back. I come up the dirt path, and I look in the window, and he's on the floor, passed out, right? I said, oh, look at this. I got to get this guy on a plane to Boston to testify.
God.
I go back around. I open the door, and I said, hey, Mr. Terry, wake up. Mr. Terry, wake up. I get down. I need to start hitting him on the face. Oh, he's kind of cold. Kind of cold. Oh, I move his head. Stuff had come out of his mouth. I said, this guy's dead. The guy either was, coincidentally drank himself to death that night. He was so worried about testifying in Boston that he just couldn't take it anymore. And maybe, I don't know what he did, but
maybe he did. Choked on his own.
He choked on his own vomit or something. And
foam coming out, stuff like that. Usually OD.
Yeah. Well, he was an old drunk and probably in his 70s. I think the coroner said it was just heart attack or something like that. But yeah, so that was, that's the kind of case it was. We had all this evidence. We had to fly back to Boston. I'm saying, oh, great, they're going to bring the director's jet for me, right? Because I had to get on a conference call with the director of the FBI, Robert Mueller, that next morning. He's, they got to fly out his G5 to pick me up with all the evidence.
Commercial.
No, they brought out this propeller plane from Kansas.
Shit.
FBI plane. I flew on that thing. It's like, okay, it's like being on a military transport. We're going right to Boston? No, we're not going to Boston. We're going to Manassas. Oh, I got to go to Boston. No, we're going to land in Manassas. I go to Manassas. Maybe it's the G5's coming to get me, and Manassas take me to Boston, make a great entrance. Now, it's a little Cessna with two Boston agents flying. I say, hey guys, do you see how much stuff I have to load in there? I've got like 33 boxed up weapons, 820,000 cash. I said, we're going to fit in the Cessna. I don't know. We'll see. My weight, their weight, all this evidence. And then it starts to rain. And I say, hey guys, have you ever flown into Logan Airport at night before? No, not really at night in the rain. So,
Shit.
Oh my God.
I will say Robert Mueller, for whatever's been said about him, we had a little bit of a confrontational call that morning. I was kind of tired. I didn't want to do a call for the director of the FBI. I told one of the bosses, why don't you do it? I got to get Whitey to court. No, he wants to speak to you. All right. A little confrontational call. I won't get into that, but we got a couple months later. He saw me over in Orlando at a conference, and he singled me out in front of everybody. He said, "Hey, stand up." He says, "I was at AUSA in Boston when all this went down and the corruption in the FBI. So I want to thank you personally from the bottom of my heart for getting them hooked up. So it's been a long-standing black eye for the FBI.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing your job and getting them hooked up.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
that was a great case.
And just the picture of the woman,
The high-def pictures of her that these couple of great agents, one of them's retired, and they said, because they were bringing FBI agents back for years on these temporary duty assignments to try and get fresh eyes on the case. They finally transferred two guys to Boston and said, that's all we want you to work on. And they did, and one of them said, hey, there's a doctor that's got some high-def plastic surgery photos, pre-op photos. We got them. They put those on. Somebody had the idea to do a public service announcement.
Yep.
The Bureau had to pay, but didn't air all over. It aired only in 14 markets. And one person who eventually saw it was overseas somewhere and saw the CNN rebroadcast. And that's the call that came in to L.A., and to D.C., and to Boston.
Did that person have to, they got the reward, I would assume.
The reward was paid.
And were they protected? Or
There were some issues about, they felt life was in danger, but it wasn't that. Whitey had no connections at that point. He's
Right.
on the run. Everybody disowned him, right? They knew he was an informant because it had been publicized that he was cooperating with the FBI against the Italians. So he had no connections at that point. He had distanced himself allegedly from his family. So I think Boston was able to get over the hump with the person, and don't worry about it. You'll be okay.
right.
So
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome.
But 10 Most Wanted hook, and then we did a few more for the sheriff's department. I put some guy who shot two sheriff's deputies back in '98. Put him on our 10 Most Wanted list. We got him hooked up. A guy who killed
Who was that guy?
sniper Migdio Preciado. He shot deputies Scott and Timberlake in Whittier, and I want to say it was '98. Opened up the van. They were pulling to a traffic stop on a van. He slides open the door.
Oh,
gets out. Yeah, Scott and Timberlake.
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, and sniper Emigdio Preciado gets out with an AK, gets Scott
in the head. Yeah, he got in the head. I was the LT on the shooting that night.
You were?
Yeah.
Yep.
And went to the crime scene. They had the crime scene nailed down, and went to the hospital there in Linwood, St. Francis, where they had Scott. And I asked them if they had flown the helicopter to pick up his wife, and they said, no, we need to get a commander's price. Get it out there now. And tell them I said, get it out there. And, and knowing it took captain or above, and I wasn't a captain or above, commander or above to get the helicopter. I said, you just tell them that I said, I want it out there now.
Right.
And I'll take the heat. It's easier to say I'm sorry than to try and ask for permission.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, do it. Use my name. And we got it out there. And I saw Scott recently. He's doing good.
Good.
What was the guy with the Uzi protecting? Because it's just
Bunch of Southside gangsters, Southside Whittier gangsters in a van. They didn't want to get stopped. He comes out, so he goes on the run. For years. I want to say '98 maybe that case was, and we finally got him in 2009 in some little village outside of Puerto Vallarta again. Punta Mita, I think was the town, and he was living living in a little hut without power, doing fishing. That's what he was doing. But that was just good lake work by our FBI guys stationed in Mexico.
And the little dude's in the hut doing fishing, and then he sees whenever what's going to happen to him, and he's got to just.
They just got somebody recently down. I want to say Ensenada, Papas and Beer. Some guy that had killed his girlfriend over here, shanked her on up, went down there, he escaped, he was gone, and they talked him into doing. They talked the friends into doing a Facebook thing, looking for this guy, Justice for whatever her name was. and they found him down. He was working as a waiter in Papa's and Beer. Wow. That has to be within the last 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
No, wow.
I mean, that's all we have, too many of those domestic violence cases we worked, killing the girlfriend and stuff like that. Another one we did in another 98 one was Joe Sines from East LA. Kills 2 rivals in the city of LA. That's a city case, LAPD. Goes over to East LA area, picks up his girlfriend, takes her back to grandma's place on Eagle Street in East LA, rapes her, murders her, and then takes off, disappears, and then same thing on the run. 2008, comes up here, kills the guy in Whittier on videotape. Turns out he's working for the cartel in Mexico in the intervening time.
Shit.
The guy lost 500 grand of his money, so he can't come up and take care of business. Caught him in Guadalajara, chased him in Guatemala for 2 weeks. Then went to Guadalajara, chased him for 2 weeks in Guadalajara, come home Thanksgiving Day. I get the call from the Mexican police. A couple hours later, I'm cutting a turkey. We got him. Finally.
Wow.
Fly down the next morning, bring him back.
How did they get him?
We got
somebody saw him?
Somebody knew back in the day, hey, this guy maybe, check this place out in Guatemala, check El Salvador. It's a big what do you call that, a transport route from Colombia for the cocaine. When they go in through Chiapas, from Guatemala, from the border to Chiapas into Mexico, and then they pipe it up. But yeah, crazy case. I don't think it's 2012. I don't think it's gone to trial yet, so I can't talk too much about it. But.
Do you think that now with the computers and fingertip voice recognition, all that stuff, that it's a
double-edged sword, easier and harder. Yeah. It makes it easier for us sometimes. It makes it a lot harder, right? You can get on a phone and go through the internet from a internet cafe somewhere and do your business, and we can't track it to you. Right. Before, when I started, we were doing payphones, right? Everybody, we had pagers. We were trapping guys with home landlines and payphones, and that's how we were doing it.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. Technology is good in some respects.
And there's still how many people would you say that were still out there like that? The FBI is actively pursuing.
Thousands of warrants.
Thousands, right?
Thousands of warrants, but there's all different types, right? And we have the 10 most wanted list, and we have all just most wanted, and then you have your regular NCIC probably has 20,000 warrants, maybe.
Yeah.
From things as simple as failure to appear in court for something, for a DUI.
Did they replace you in the task force when you retired?
Yeah, so I mean, we knew, 57 is your expiration date at the FBI, right? You have to retire. So I knew a couple of years before, and over the 22 years I did the fugitive stuff, some years I'd work with a partner, many years we didn't.
Wow.
And then as I was getting to that ripe old age, I said, we got to get somebody to train them up. So yeah, I had a couple of guys, probably the last 2 years before I retired. I stayed actually an extension. I was almost 58 by the time I left. They extend you three times, and then you can go. But yes, I have a great guy replace me. In fact, the year before I retired, we're doing an arrest on a 71-year-old Vato in Newton Division. Just had killed his nephew, and the nephew shot his nephew's friend over a dispute about kicking him out of the property. No criminal history. 71 years old. Son was LAPD. This guy won't be a problem. We line up in the breezeway of the motel to take him down, and he sees us, comes out, goes around the corner with a 6-shot. Boom, boom, boom. Hits my partner in his wrist. Hits another guy in a shotgun flashlight, luckily.
Whoa.
And then a third one goes over everybody's head into the wall. And then a couple of guys in front took him out. Here's a guy, 71 years old, your age, Gil. No criminal history, just like you.
Like me.
No criminal history.
Were his pants tucked in his boots when they found him?
He had the high socks,
the Vato high socks. Well, let me tell you, that third shot would have had my ass running home from the fucking Newton Division.
You'd still be running.
Well, I'd still be running. I'm fascinated, man.
Yeah, but that's it. So the guy that replaced me wound up getting shot like a year later. But he's a SWAT guy, Marine guy.
Yeah.
Tough as nails.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, great investigator, great kid.
I think those, some of those guys like that, they know what's coming. So they're almost like, all right, fuck it. Like, I'm out here because I can't do that.
Right.
Like, that. Right. You don't want to take that.
He had a note in his wallet said, have my daughter take my body. So he knew it wasn't going to be, but listen, my partner got shot, but I think it was going to be suicide by cop. Had he been stopped by a black and white, just on the street. You know, so it could have been some poor copper.
Right. Absolutely.
Got it right
No
in the
question.
head, right?
Yeah.
We knew that, hey, the guy's going to be armed, so at least, you know, but he got the drop on us. But yeah.
Did his kid know?
No, his kid and him were estranged.
Ah.
And that's the other thing. And we know his kid's LAPD. He ain't going to shoot at the police, right? So, but yeah, best laid plans like we talked
Yeah,
about.
I think,
Nothing
yeah.
ever goes as planned.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think you know, when sometimes when people are so good at it, when they go, you had no idea, and you're like, honestly, if somebody were to lie to you, you could tell they were lying. But if, you know, you could see that sometimes people aren't really paying attention to the surroundings and worried about, you know, everybody drives the same way to work. It's kind of like to have these
Right.
these lives where there's not a lot of alternate stuff. So, you know, they're not really kind of focusing on other people.
People get desperate when you corner them. They just get, you know, they get desperate and they want to shoot and
Like rats.
like rats. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had this other case from Vegas. Guy just done 12 years on a murder, got out, kills his buddy, steals a whole cache of weapons, gets here. We track him down to Santa Ana. So we're sitting on a place in Santa Ana late at night, 9 o'clock at night. A couple of Santa Ana cops. Santa Ana cops. They swing by. Hey, you guys, need some help? Yeah, we got nothing to do tonight, right? And so yeah, we'll sit with you guys. So they sat with us. Car comes out of the place we're watching. Our guy's looking, points, dark. Says, I don't think it's our guy, but you know, maybe have the black and white do a traffic stop just to eliminate it. The corporal and the sergeant take off. They're going to do a low-key traffic stop just to make sure it's not our guy. Corporal, car makes a left turn by the gas station. Corporal follows him. Sergeant somehow makes a U-turn, gets a little lost in traffic. I get stopped at the light, so I'm just watching. Next thing I know, the back seat of the car opens up. Guy gets out with an AK, starts about to turn around, blast rounds. Right as he's turning, the corporal sees this, and 3 rounds, boom, 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 gets him 3 times, puts him down.
Wow.
And this guy was just got out of prison on 12 years and, you know, killed somebody else. He wasn't going to go back.
No.
Another time, that's the guy we, you know, probably saved a highway patrol guy from getting killed, right? This guy gets pulled over in the middle of Santa Ana, you know, Garden Grove, wherever it was. And
You wouldn't see it.
right?
No.
They just had one today. A highway patrol pulling over, checking on a stranded motorist on the 105 710 northbound interchange, and the guy comes out and it starts. He was a murder suspect. Highway patrol didn't know it,
Right.
but they were looking at him for murder, and
Right.
he fortunately he lost. A CHP officer, they're putting out on the news, they took a graze wound to the face, but he'll be all right.
Well, you saw what happened in Tucson, right? DEA going on the train to just do a regular routine drug interdiction. And there's all of a sudden shots of fire on the train, and 1 DEA dead, 1 wounded, 1 cop wounded.
And who was that? The guy was on the train?
2 guys on the train, probably. It was a train from Tucson to New Orleans, probably. You know, a lot of dope is smuggled on the trains these days. And,
Really?
you know, they do regular interdiction stops. Bring the dog on, sniffing out gun, right?
Right.
That's something I never even thought of. Never thought of trains.
And the hound, the greyhound. That's another way.
Is that right?
The Hound.
Wow, man.
So,
that's crazy.
yeah, 1 DEA dead, 1 wounded, and 1 Tucson PD wounded, and the bad guy dead. It's a video on they released on it. Crazy,
Told you he was a good guy.
crazy,
Goodness.
crazy stuff.
That's bananas.
Beautiful,
And
man.
and now sort of found a second career, second life as a what's the term? A technical consultant for
consultant,
a
yeah.
couple of shows, right? Your
Yeah,
FBI,
yeah, yeah,
Most
yeah.
Wanted, Clarice.
Yeah, so as I, as you get to that point where I'm looking for jobs, right? Because I knew I was at the end of my first extension. I knew I had 2 more, and I didn't want to go do something I didn't want to do. So
Right.
I get a call from a buddy of mine who's, he's a producer in Hollywood. I'd worked with the years before just to help him out, and he says, "Hey, I'm doing a show called All Rise." He said, "You want to be a tech advisor?" I said, "Yeah, let me see the script." And I said, "Yeah, not really in my wheelhouse. It's about a state judge. I'm a federal guy, right?" He says, "Well, I know the people that are doing FBI Most Wanted." And he said, "Let me put you in touch with them." I went and met the producer. "Yeah, when can you start?" "Shit, we can't moonlight. FBI agents are not allowed, like Gil, right? You're not allowed to moonlight and do your day job." So I said, "I guess I got to retire." So I wound up doing both shows and retiring like probably about a month after I got the job, September of 19. And then Clarice, I picked Clarice up after that, and that got canceled this year. And hopefully All Rise comes back. And then I did the Chippendales documentary. I'm supposed to do, they want to do the show on Whitey Bulger, and so I'm supposed to do something on that and just do a pitch for that. We'll see.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm happy, get up in the morning, going down to the coffee shop, talk to some buddies, read a script here and there.
There you go. Like Gil goes over to the VFW, fucking pounds them out with some guys.
Yeah.
Goes to the coffee shop.
Actually,
one
I don't
goes
find
to-
this FBI stuff that interesting.
Quiet as I've seen you. Anything go down over there? Fritz, that topless place over there. That was the shit. How bad. Well, we can't say the name, but it was so bad I wouldn't go in there, and I'd go in almost anywhere. At an early age, get my grandfather out of the bars. Fucking little kid in there going, Grandma wants you to see her. Get the fuck out. Where is she? All right, I'll be right there. Yeah, it's fascinating, man. Thank you, brother, for coming on.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
Thanks
you're
for
right, Gil. Yeah, 100%, dude. It's
Right.
a good show.
Good.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks to guys like guys like Gil, homicide detectives, that kept me busy over the years, right?
Yeah.
Without those guys making the case, I'd be doing nothing.
And then you forge friendships that last. Business, professional,
I
and then
talk to homicide
friendships.
detectives more than I talk to FBI agents.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. That's great.
That's good stuff.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks,
Grant,
guys.
Good.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Well done.